At the beginning of the movie, we see the main character named Charlie. He is assembling various parts for an airplane, but he is distracted by his wife Sarah, who will soon leave for work in London. She drinks a cup of freshly brewed coffee and offers him to come with her. But Charlie refuses, he's busy, and once again turns her down.
Bye.
After that, Charlie goes to his job. It turns out he works for the CIA. On his way to his office, Charlie meets an old acquaintance who works on secret missions abroad. When Charlie enters his office, he receives a message on his computer from someone named Inclevian. This is an informant Charlie knows nothing about, but he receives secret information from him.
If I had to guess, you're a 50-year-old Russian man living in Istanbul with an affinity for Reddit boards and Turkish coffee.
However, the file sent by Inclevian could literally change the world order. Charlie tries to guess who Inclevian might be. Obviously, the informant doesn't reply and warns him to be careful with that file. All the files sent were encrypted, and to Charlie's surprise, even someone as brilliant as him couldn't decrypt the contents. Sarah calls to tell him that she arrived safely in London. Charlie already knows he's been tracking her route, but he's too busy now and hangs up. He returns to cracking the file. He moves to a more powerful complex, where he finally manages to break the code. Inside, the data is not about Afghanistan as he expected, but about how the authorities themselves launched drones for the attack, and told citizens a story about a bomb. On the news, they broadcast reports about the elimination of elite army units.
There are witness reports of a drone strike, but U.S. sources have confirmed that it was a suicide bomber.
It turns out that behind it all is Moore, who also happens to be Charlie's boss. After seeing this, he returns home, and before going to sleep, he tries to call his wife, but she doesn't answer. He sends her a message instead. The next day when he returns to work, he sees Moore waiting for him in his office. O'Brien asks him to follow him to the director's office, where they tell Charlie that there has been a terrorist attack in London. And then they shock him with the news. Sarah is dead. Charlie can't believe it. Then Moore turns on the news. On one of the recordings, Sarah is clearly visible. Charlie rushes home. Surrounded by dozens of reporters he has no desire to talk to. He's confused, doesn't answer calls, and feels completely alone. The next day, knowing what was in the last file, Charlie can't understand how the terrorists managed to get into a hotel with thousands of surveillance cameras. Moore swears they'll get to the bottom of it. They send Charlie home so he can recover. The next day, Sarah's coffin is brought home. Among her things is a gift she had bought for him and a note, which breaks Charlie even more. The following day, he can't stay home and goes to work, even though he was told he didn't have to. He starts analyzing all CCTV footage from London and reconstructs the terrorists' entire operation. He prepares a detailed presentation for his superiors, explaining that it all began with a stolen car, which they used to get through a service entrance, carefully removing all DNA traces along the way. Most likely, they had a business meeting with a corporation from Indonesia. But something went wrong, and they started shooting. To protect themselves from the police, the gunmen took hostages. Thanks to their commands, Charlie analyzed their voices and identified who they were. One was called Russian Bear, another was a Special Forces soldier named Lawrence, a mercenary named Horst, and an officer named Gretchen. Sarah was captured because she tried to save people in the hall and drew attention to herself. Charlie sees that the leadership doesn't intend to act on his investigation, which means they already know everything. Caleb tells him again that they are working on it. They send him to a psychologist to check his mental state and fitness for work. Since Charlie himself developed the building's security systems, he knows how to smuggle in a chip, onto which he uploads all the classified data. Then he shows Moore his mistakes, the ones that cause civilian casualties. If they don't help him, this data will go to all major media outlets as well as the CIA director. And if they try to kill him, the data will be sent automatically in 5 hours. Charlie wants to personally take revenge on the killers, so they must train him as an agent, provide fake documents, weapons, and information about where to find these people. After Charlie leaves, Moore says he's bluffing, but Caleb doesn't want to take the risk and agrees to start training him. Meanwhile, they must find where Charlie is hiding the data. Once they find it, Charlie will be accidentally killed during training. The next day, Charlie arrives at the training camp, where his instructor, Henderson, is waiting for him. The agents know that he has a very high IQ and that he's capable of anything. They analyze how Charlie could have smuggled prohibited items into the complex, but can't figure it out. However, they discover that every time Charlie went into a bar, he used the jukebox, and inside it was a disc, not with music, but with some kind of noise. During the first training sessions, Charlie even struggles to shoot. He can only hit a target from a very close distance.
Did we test your vision?
Meanwhile, his house is being searched for any trace of data, unsuccessfully. They go to the bar where Charlie hid the data disk and find it inside the jukebox.
Over this.
To Henderson's surprise, Charlie handles various types of bombs very professionally. Henderson is astonished by his skill. Charlie also receives a new passport, and so that he doesn't forget his new name and surname, Henderson tests him in a rather rough way. Later that night, Henderson visits Charlie. He understands that Charlie isn't made for killing, but he sees no other way for him to avenge his wife. Henderson gives him a gun and orders him to aim at him. Charlie is terrified and lowers the weapon.
When the time comes, I'll pull the trigger.
When the time comes, you won't even remember which end of the gun the bullet comes out of.
The agents analyze the disc and conclude that Charlie is bluffing, and he must be eliminated. But Charlie has been listening to them the whole time. Moore calls Henderson at night and orders him to capture Charlie, but when he arrives, Charlie is already gone. Moore realizes the file had a bug and says, "This is treason."
Mr. Heller. Bugging a CIA officer is treason.
Charlie reaches London, and as soon as his passport is entered into the database, Henderson is sent to capture him. Charlie travels to Paris and quickly tracks down one of the gunmen, Gretchen. He follows her home, and when one of the residents leaves the building, he sneaks inside. Charlie doesn't know how to pick locks, but learns from a YouTube tutorial on PavelRecap channel. Inside Gretchen's apartment, there's a detailed schedule of her life, as well as weapons, which he takes. Charlie realizes Gretchen will soon return home, so he goes up to the next floor. He even has a chance to pull the trigger, but can't bring himself to do it and simply runs away to a hotel. Memories flood back, but after calming down, he studies a photograph. Gretchen often goes to the same hospital where she receives allergy treatment. Then Charlie comes up with a new plan. He buys flowers and waits until Gretchen arrives at the hospital for her procedure. During the procedure, the doctor's monitor suddenly goes off, and he leaves to get assistance. Charlie takes the opportunity and enters the room. He locks the chamber where Gretchen is and releases flower pollen into the ventilation system. She starts to suffocate. Charlie promises to help her if she tells him where Horst is hiding, the man who killed Sarah. Gretchen can barely speak, so Charlie opens the door. A fight breaks out between them. Charlie ends up losing to Gretchen, who tries to escape but gets hit by a car. He grabs her phone and runs away. He's terrified. It's the first time he's ever killed someone, even if not directly. The next day he reaches Marseille. Meanwhile, the CIA receives news that Gretchen has been eliminated. O'Brien asks Moore who could have done it, and Moore replies, "Someone from our own." Charlie has never killed anyone before, so he suppresses his emotions. He changes clothes and heads to the train station to buy a ticket to Marseille. Upon arrival, he walks down the street and spots a nightclub. After taking a shot, he's hit by flashbacks of the killing. Among the crowd of dancers, he sees Henderson and instantly bolts. Henderson follows close behind, and Charlie locks himself in the restroom, but there are no windows to escape through. So he decides to approach Henderson, who offers him a beer and explains that he found him through Gretchen's phone. Charlie shows his phone, which displays 3 seconds remaining. Then a small explosion goes off. Under the noise, Charlie manages to escape. In the morning, Charlie writes to the same informant he had been communicating with earlier, the one who leaked secret documents about Moore. The informant replies that he will help him escape to Turkey. He sets a meeting place. and after some time, a woman approaches Charlie there, introducing herself as Inclevion. On the way, she tells him that her husband used to work for the KGB, but the CIA recruited him and later killed him under the guise of an accident. After that, she took his place and decided to keep in touch with the CIA in case she ever needed help. They arrive at her country house, where she shows Charlie everyone involved in his wife's murder. The gang leader, Lawrence, deals in arms trafficking, and she suggests setting up a meeting with him under the pretext of a weapons deal, since there's no other way to lure him out. The second one, named Macaulay, loves traveling, luxury, and flying business class, something he actively posts about on social media. In one of his photos, there's a silhouette of a woman named Alexandra. They find her account and address. At this time, Moore proposes tracking the three killers because he's sure Charlie will eventually reach them. In a cafe, O'Brien asks Moore to stop operating behind her back. Moore should have retired long ago, but for some reason, he stayed. He's behind all the CIA's gray operations. He replies that her predecessor said the same thing. It sounds like a threat.
Enjoy that pasta.
Meanwhile, the pair finds Macaulay, who is staying at the Madrid hotel. Charlie realizes the CIA is already tracking him, but he goes anyway. Moore calls Henderson and orders him to kill Charlie. Macaulay likes to book the pool for himself and swim there all evening. Naturally, Charlie, as a proper CIA agent, wants to eliminate him quietly, so he plants a bomb at the pool. Afterward, he notices Henderson and his assistants. They've come for him. Inclevion studies the men and realizes they're CIA agents. She tells Charlie to run, but he insists on staying.
Charlie, he's also CIA. You have to leave now. Heller, are you listening to me?
No, we'll go as planned.
When Macaulay gets into the pool, Charlie appears and demands to know where Horst is hiding. Macaulay says nothing. Charlie warns that if he doesn't cooperate, the pool will be destroyed. Macaulay stays silent, so Charlie presses the button. After that, Charlie runs away. Henderson almost catches him, but another agent bursts in. One working for O'Brien. Charlie sees the agents fighting each other. The man pulls out a gun and shoots Henderson, but Henderson wrestles the weapon away and comes out on top. Henderson is badly wounded and can't continue the chase. At CIA headquarters, O'Brien calls Moore in, but he says nothing. The agents are convinced Charlie couldn't have planned everything alone. After checking all the cameras and communications, they trace the name Inclevion, and since the agent with that name is dead, it must be his wife behind everything. Charlie and his partner suspect nothing and fall asleep together, holding each other. The agents realize everything, and late that night, a heavily armed unit appears near the house. The pair escapes through a hidden passage, but a drone spots them. They flee in a car as soldiers open fire. Inclevion is badly wounded, so Charlie drags her onto the passenger seat and keeps driving. Sadly, the woman doesn't survive. Once again lost and devastated, Charlie walks through the city, remembering his wife. He sets up a meeting with one of the killers, Lawrence, in Romania. To mislead the CIA, he scans his face and hacks Berlin's surveillance cameras, replacing his image with that of a random passerby. The CIA takes the bait and believes he's been spotted. When Lawrence arrives at the meeting place, he finds crates and a phone. The phone rings. It's Charlie. He tells Lawrence to open one of the crates packed with explosives. If he moves, steps away, or closes the lid, everything will blow up. Charlie asks for his help in finding Horst. Lawrence says Horst is operating on Russian territory and gets his goods through a Baltic port. All the necessary names are in his phone. After getting the information, Charlie picks up the phone and walks away as an explosion erupts behind him. The CIA realizes they've been fooled. The next day, Charlie arrives at a port in Russia. He waits for Horst. Charlie sends the code to Lawrence and sees a man pull out his phone. He takes several pictures and identifies the name of a yacht and its travel route. When he returns to a cafe, he runs into an old acquaintance who offers him coffee. Charlie quickly realizes the man came to kill him, but instead, the man offers him a chance to surrender and return. When Charlie refuses, he says,
You keep your head on a swivel now, okay, Chuck?
That evening, Charlie locates the yacht transporting weapons and prepares his next move. But just as he's ready to strike, someone knocks him out, and he drops his wife's gift. He's taken aboard a ship to Horst. Horst is certain that Charlie is one of those who can't kill while looking a man in the eye, so he hands him a gun. Even then, Charlie can't shoot. Suddenly, the yacht changes course. It turns out Charlie managed to hack the vessel and alter its destination. Finnish Special Forces and Interpol surround them and take everyone into custody. Sometime later, O'Brien announces that the CIA has undergone a purge and several corrupt agents have been exposed. Moore is among them.
Which put the safety of our own operators and agents we work with at great risk.
Gentlemen.
O'Brien pardons Charlie, and he returns home, visiting his wife's grave. In the evening, as Charlie returns from the store and gets into his car, he sees an unexpected visitor, Henderson, joking and clearly not planning to kill him. They shake hands, and Henderson walks away. Later, Charlie finally finishes building the airplane and flies off toward the horizon,